What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Johnny5 Alive here, and in today's video I'm going to be giving my first impressions on the PlanetCoaster final release. The day is finally upon us, and here we are. I gave my beta impressions, my concerns, my developer feedback, and we're here to find out if anything has changed. I will be giving my thoughts and a final review, so stay tuned and we'll check it out. Alright, if you guys like this video, please be sure to smash that like button. It helps me out a lot. And if you want to see more PlanetCoaster videos like this in the future, be sure to subscribe and let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. So, diving into it, we have a lot to go over. I addressed all my concerns in the beta, and if you guys haven't seen that video, I'll put it in the comments down below. Go check it out. Nothing has really changed from the beta to the release. So that's the first thing I want to let you guys know. I do want to go over some certain things that I was hoping for. The first thing I want to show here is the sandbox. Now, one thing to mention, guys, is I was hoping they had a whole bunch of tricks up their sleeves, a whole bunch of new stuff for us. Now, I am glad to see that they did add the pirate ship, the swinging pirate ship. Super glad to see this. So there are a few rides added in. Now, looking at the amount of rides here, this isn't too much in my opinion. If you look at previous games like this in the past, I believe this is a good entry level of rides, so hopefully they continue to build on this game in the future, and I'm really glad to see the swinging pirate ship made in. In terms of coasters, the pre-made coasters, these are all the same as the beta. I remember placing down every single one of these and riding them all. So they haven't added any additional coasters, which is somewhat disappointing, to be honest. Again, comparing to previous coaster games, you would go into a coaster, so say the Falco was a steel coaster of some sort. You had all these options for making another steel coaster. So they'd have the Falco, the G-Lock, the Grendel, the Bear Demon. They would have like 5 or 6 different coasters for this one type of track. And this is just one coaster per track. But if you go to custom, there's like 29 different coasters. Considering there's 29 different coaster types, they only created 10 pre-made coasters. It's a little bit disappointing in the fact that they didn't make any in-house coasters other than this limited select few. Going into track rides and custom, this was all in the beta and they didn't add anything new. I was kind of surprised. I was really excited to come into these tabs and see a whole bunch of new toys to play with. I'd have to say the most disappointing one for me is the shop stalls. I mentioned this in my beta review that, if I want to put down a hot dog squad or a Hats Fantastic or something, this is the only hot dog squad existing. There's no actual hot dog squad in here, right? Nothing. So I don't really like the look of these square boxes. I really wanted to see a traditional hot dog squad that you can immediately get excited about in placing into your park. So if I want to do that, I have to sit here for the next hour or so and go into my scenery and try and construct a hot dog out of all these parts and then decorate it with lights and gadgets. But this one hot dog stall, I made a burger stall in the alpha, and it took me like 2 hours. And then I made a restaurant, which took me like 5 hours. And it's a little bit time consuming. So before I can even start playing my game and just get excited about making a park, I have to start making the basics first. Or I have to go to the Steam Workshop. I can't just put down a hot dog squad and be done with it. I have a box, and I'm not, in my opinion, I'm not satisfied with this box. So I really have to go in and download some Steam Workshop hot dog stalls or create my own. I have a whole bunch of homework to do before I can even begin my building extravaganza. In terms of scenery, they added in some more blueprints, which I was happy to see. So there's some different themes, there's some extra stuff added in. However, it's not a whole lot extra. There was 1 row in the beta, and now there's 2 and a bit rows. They went the extra mile to add in a few more of these, which is good to see, but I really did expect a lot more from the dev team. Considering how much there is to do in this game, you're going to be going constantly to the Steam Workshop. Everything in this game is going to be done through either yourself or the Steam Workshop. So again, you have a whole lot of work to do before you can get started having fun. And then in terms of buildings, this is the exact same assortment from the beta. There's nothing new added here. And I was saying that, you know, if I wanted to make a castle, I was very limited. And now it's up to me to go to the Steam Workshop or create my own pieces if I want to see this castle come together. And if I want to make a village, this is my village, and I have to just reuse these pieces over and over. And this doesn't make for the most interesting village of all time, and you're going to see this in every single part. So there's not a lot of replayability in terms of creativity unless you're, again, creating it yourself or going to the Steam Workshop, which is a lot of work. So just getting started, getting your feet off the ground with some of these scenarios, there's not a whole lot here to dabble with. There's a few new rides, there's no new coasters, but there is a whole bunch of new coaster tracks, which is great. But again, you're going to have to construct all these, and I know that is half the fun. The coasters I'm not too upset about, because constructing the coasters is half the fun. It just would have been nice to see a few pre-made coasters of these types so that you could get an understanding of how these coasters were intended to be designed. It's always good to see an example of someone's work before doing it yourself. So that's the free play mode, and we're able to take a look at everything else. Let's go dive back into the main menu and talk about the scenarios. So first thing to note is I was a little bit disappointed when I came in here because my beta progress continued over. And why is that disappointing? Because that tells me that they didn't reset the beta progress with the intentions that they had made changes. So by not resetting this, it literally tells me that nothing has been changed. I can literally resume my pirate battle map because it's the same as it was in the beta, and I address my concerns there. So I come in here and it's immediately completed. I can start the scenario over again, but there's really no point in doing that because it is the exact same. So we can jump back into it, and they added all the career scenarios. We can get 3 more pirate levels. I'm assuming this last level is going to give us that pirate ship that I was so looking forward to. And these scenarios do look pretty cool. Let's just jump into this one real quick. So I mentioned in my beta review that the economy is a little bit imbalanced, because I'm just going to quickly go over it again for those of you who are just hearing my first impressions. To break it down in a nutshell, these people bring an average amount of money, like a realistic amount of money. So if we can find a guy that's all by himself, this guy, all right, this girl, she's all by herself. So she started with $74. These 2 teenagers, they're coming in with $200 each. So they're ready to have a good day here. This girl came in with $80. These people come with a realistic amount of money, so we can compare our dollars to their dollars. However, everything in this game doesn't take itself seriously in terms of reality, except for the guests' money. So look at this. This is a scenery ride, and it simply just takes you through some caves. It's absolutely fantastic. I'll have to show this in another video. This ride is really nice. It's really cool. They got some stuff going underground. However, if we look here, they charge $24 to go on just a little scenery ride. And like I said, in the last level, they charge you $20 to go on a roller coaster. And if these people are bringing in $80 each, they're spending a fourth of their money. So a lot of the things just don't feel balanced. Who would ever spend $24 just to go on like a kiddie ride? As enjoyable as it might sound, if you go to the local park and you spend $20, maybe $40 to get in, you get to go on everything for all day long for free. And if you go buy tickets, you can buy $20 worth of tickets. To ride a roller coaster, it might cost you like 3 tickets, which is the equivalent to maybe a couple dollars to go on a roller coaster. But here, they're charging you $24, $25 to go on these things. And what's upsetting about this is your guests go in, they buy a burger, they go on a roller coaster, they go to 1 or 2 rides, and they're out of money. In the real life, you're trying to spend all day at the park until you're out of money. But you know, these people come in, and after an hour of being in your park, they have to leave because they ran out of money by going on 1 or 2 rides. The economy is kind of in balance in that sense. And then if you go to your staff, if I hire a new mechanic, we're actually paying our mechanic $300 a month. $300 is a very low price, and I think the janitors you pay $120. So you're paying a janitor just as much money as these people come in to spend. Their monthly wage is equivalent to these people spending money. I feel like the employees could be making a lot more. Now, based off of all that stuff, there is an imbalance in the actual economy itself. It's a bit disappointing in that sense. The economy becomes quite easy, and some things seem to have a major imbalance versus what a guest brings in their pocket to what they're willing to spend, and it gives them a very limited experience in your park, and that, in my opinion, gives less value to each person. If they're just coming in to buy a burger and go on 1 or 2 rides and then they're out, then you don't care as much about each guest's individual experience. You're more or less just looking to decorate rather than to keep an eye on a certain guest. In previous games, I remember you could grab a guest and bookmark them as a favorite, and then you could keep an eye on them for the next couple hours of playing. But this guy is likely to be gone. If I start making a bustling park, he's going to go on 2 or 3 rides and he's going to be out of money, and he'll be likely out of the park in no time. It just kind of makes me appreciate each person less because I'm not really trying to tune things to figure out how can I keep them in my park. Another big thing that I want to mention here, under the research tab, as I mentioned earlier, the scenery was so limited in terms of blueprints and buildings that it made me wonder, well, if there's not much in the game that the dev team created, what will I have to research in terms of scenery? So what's kind of strange here, if you go to the research tab, you can research. Oh, I can only have 3 at a time. So I can research scenery art shapes. If you don't know what the scenery art shapes is, that's just a custom piece, and they're just circles and boxes and stuff. I found that a little bit odd that they would make you research the pieces rather than the actual assets. I want to unlock new pieces to put down, not pieces to build with. Because if I wanted to go make something, I would go into sandbox mode, build it, package it out, and then when I came into my scenario, it would be here for me to buy and place down in my scenario, and I would not need research. So I could build whatever I wanted out of those art shapes in sandbox mode and make a completely cool statue out of art shapes, save that as a blueprint, and then when I come to this scenario, I can literally just place it down. So I will never, ever, ever, in my opinion, be building blueprints on the fly in my scenario. So I will never, ever, ever need to use the scenery research done in this game. I really needed them to add more assets into the game, so when I do my pirate research, I'm getting pirate ships, I'm getting, pirate dock, pirates shooting cannons at each other, and I'm getting all sorts of cool pirate things that I can immediately look at, get excited about placing down, and then put that down in my level. Alright, so the next thing I want to talk about is the objective. This is the second level now, and I was really hoping for an incline and challenge. And if anything, it's just as easy as the first level. Your objective is to hire 2 janitors and build 2 rides, and they already start you with 1 ride. In some cases, it might be even easier than the first level. I literally have to put down a merry-go-round and 2 janitors, and this is completed. Then hire 2 mechanics and build 5 rides. That is a little bit tougher, not by much. And then the hard one is hire 2 entertainers and attract 1,000 guests, but you're already 37% of the way in order to hit that mark. I was really hoping for some sort of, reach a park rating of 700 by the year 3 and have a monthly income of 20,000. Something really challenging would have been nice. And in some cases, this is less challenging than the first scenario, which has me a little bit concerned. So I'll keep everybody posted in my final review. So one thing I thought was interesting, I'm getting this notification saying messy paths. There is a lot of litter, make sure you have enough bins. This was a problem in the beta. You can't find out where the litter is. Now, if you have a huge park, you kind of have to look around manually to find where all the litter is. And that becomes a little bit of a problem, not being able to pinpoint where the dirty spots actually are. Now, one thing that's interesting here is they're throwing coffee down, snow cones, and all this litter. However, they have nothing they can actually buy in this park. They could buy a priority pass here. That's it. There's no food shops yet in this park, yet they're all littering. I don't know where they're getting this litter from, considering there are no shops. So I feel like that's kind of an oversight on the simulation aspect of things. Litter should somewhat correspond to the amount of purchases being made. And I believe in previous games, they could not litter unless they could be buying something. So I feel like that's a little bit of an oversight by the dev team. They should have to be buying things if they want to be throwing it on the ground. So just an interesting point to be made there. So one thing I have to bring up with the second scenario, I keep getting hounded that guests think the Kraken layer has long queue time. And this is very true. First of all, the queue itself is very long, but the ride itself, it only has 6 carts. Each cart holds 4 people, so that's 24 people on this ride at one time. The length of this track is almost 4 minutes long. It's a 4-minute ride. So every 4 minutes, one of these carts shows up and 4 people get off and 4 people get on. So you can imagine that every 4 minutes, this little family here is going to be waiting like 16 minutes just to get on the ride. It's absolutely insane. These people are going to be, and this is like our time, real time, not sim time. The days in this game are probably, 10 minutes for a day. So these people are going to be in queue for weeks. In other theme park games, the way you would fix this is you would edit the ride and extend the boarding station, and then you would add more carts. I guess I can speed up the ride, but that detracts from the experience itself. But that's what we're gonna have to do. We were gonna speed it up by 3 times, I guess, and then the ride is gonna be a lot quicker. So there is a way to fix it, I suppose, but it was constantly hounding me about the long queue times. And that's my only creative option, is to just turn up the speed, which really detracts from the ride itself because the ride is pretty awesome. A little bit unfortunate that I can't just go in here and edit the ride. It says it's locked for this scenario. I can't delete it, I can't edit it, I can't do anything to it. And I would have personally just liked to have somehow manipulated the end of this track so that I could increase the boarding station and then add maybe 6 more carts. That way, if I doubled the amount of carts, then I would double the speed of the queue line, and then I could also speed it up. These people are having to pay $24 to go on this the scenery ride, and now I'm just speeding up that experience for them, which to me feels like I feel bad for them now. I'm not really solving the solution properly, I feel. So the information booths in this game, they give priority passes, and that allows people to kind of skip ahead in the queue. I kind of wish the information booth did a little bit more, like provided you with a park map, umbrellas, that sort of thing, like they did in RTC 1. It feels a little lackluster that the information provided is just a priority pass. Seeing the little guests with little maps and stuff would be cool, and then if you have a very big park, you could offer giving away a free map just to help the guests navigate their way around, which is a nice little feature. So this is what the priority pass does. And if you go to your rides, for example this ride, you can enable priority pass. Closes down the ride and makes you rethink the queue. It's actually pretty cool. So I figured I'm going to start adding priority passes to all my rides. And as you can see, there's one here, and then there's one here, and it lets them basically cut through this whole part of the line, and they could just boop. But what ends up happening is there's a little bit of a traffic jam happening, and whenever the guests pass by here, like you can see they're taking the priority pass, and that means they get to skip ahead of all these people. And it's very helpful when it's jammed up here and then someone can come along, pass over here, and they skip this whole section of the queue. However, let's see if I can catch somebody passing by one. All the guests, they will turn and look at the priority queue. Here we go, right here. No. They all kind of dip in and they go, oh, that's not the queue, and they dip back out. These guys will do it here. No. Not happening. So that's a little bit of a bug. It's actually kind of annoying. It makes me dislike the priority pass queue. And then to top it off, it's causing serious traffic jam problems with this one here. So it's very finicky and very buggy, and it needs some work still. Oh, look at this. Yeah. And here's the problem with this ride here. I've been having some troubles with it ever since I placed it down, as you can see, with the queue lines and people just walking off the path. And, oh wow, they're sitting on the bench backwards. Interesting. That's why I kind of wish the benches had backs to them so you knew which way you were placing them. Oh god. Yeah, so I've been having problems that I can't really fix because you cannot edit the terrain in this scenario. So I can't really, I'm gonna have to delete the ride and move it completely, but this is the spot that I want to put it. Again, the limited scenario tool set is kind of frustrating because it's limiting your creativity and your ability to think outside the box. So the traffic jam cleared up here. I'm honestly considering rethinking this. Look, they're gonna dip in, Nope, not for you. While the priority passes should be a cool feature, it's actually more annoying than it is helpful. And I don't know if the ticket sales for this priority passes are for suckers. I don't think it's worth that to me. I don't know if it's paying off in the long run. And it is somewhat frustrating to deal with when they get plugged up and you see them all dipping in and out. It's kind of messing with the AI. I don't like it when features mess with my AI. It's a little bit annoying. So that's just something I wanted to point out there. So in the beta, I did some testing with the wooden roller coasters. I don't know if the results were any different than the steel coasters. I'm glad to see that you can actually make a ride fail, because with the wooden coasters, I was doing some pretty crazy stuff and the results were turning out okay. So at least in the final release, this seems to be a lot better, and we can give this coaster a quick ride here. And I had a feeling this might happen when I was building this. It got a little too crazy. So this ride seems like it's going to be a redoer, which kind of sucks because it's pretty intricate and I put quite a bit of work into it. But that's the fun of the game, is doing the reverse engineering. This part here, a little too crazy, I think. I just need to slow it down a little bit. And then this drop here is a little too crazy. Too wobbly, but for the most part it could turn out okay. I'm also thinking that if I do smaller carts, that there'll be less weight on the coaster itself, and I might get different results. But to show you guys here, the excitement rating is really good. So I still feel like this needs some tuning, because it's saying that this is exciting, but it's also saying that it's terrifying. So I'm getting mixed results here. However, this outweighs this. So overall, the fear is so high that it outweighs the excitement, and I'm glad to see some back-end data there. However, there's still no really tooltips on any of this stuff saying how much a fear is going to detract from the excitement. But I get the impression here that the fear is almost 14, that it's detracting from the excitement. And that's all that really matters at the end of the day, is that the coasters can be challenging. So I have to rethink the craziness in here, but I'm also considering if I just do smaller cars, maybe 2? Can I even do 1? No, I can't. Let's try this out. This might give us different results based off the weight. So each car is going to weigh so much less. I'm actually afraid that it won't even make it up here. It might be so light. However, it's going to have an easier time getting around this stuff. And then there are some kinks in the coaster that I'd say are too drastic, such as this bend to a drop here. That probably needs to be smoothed out. There's a few kinks going up here. Like, you don't want people turning while this is contradicting itself. They're turning on the outside while turning in, which could cause your head to swish around a little bit. So it is going at a much lighter speed now. It's looking a little bit better. So some of those little spots, I just have to kind of work them out. And I think it might be okay. It might be a little bit more tolerable. See, it's barely making it to the end now. It's so light. I don't think it's going to make it up here. Nope. Uh-oh. Stop the test. So much. It's interesting how the weight of the cars will change things. However, I am just glad to see that after building a coaster and doing a test run, that the coasters, at least this compared to the wooden coaster, is much more challenging. And I'm glad to see that. So good job to Frontier here. From what I played with in the beta on the wooden coasters, I was getting away with a lot of stuff that I probably shouldn't have. So it's good to see that at least the steel coasters are in a healthy state, and that I'm gonna have to do some reverse engineering on this to get my coaster to a point where the guests are going to enjoy it. So awesome stuff. So I've done a lot more adjustments on this. I'm getting much better results. The excitement's actually good. It's still scary. It's a little bit more scary than it is good, but I put some trim brakes in right here. So when they're coming down, it slows them down just a bit here, and then that gets them prepared for this crazy drop. And I still feel like maybe I could add more trim brakes in. Generally, it's a pretty smooth ride for the most part, considering it's light and one cart. I don't know why they're getting so scared around this area and this area, because if you look at the heat maps, they're super terrified coming up here. But it's nice and chill and relaxed. And then it's pretty chill going up here. It's a little bit odd that it's getting such a high fear rating, considering this is where the fear was coming in, slowed them down, and then I guess this is scary. And from there on out, this whole part is terrified. Now, I don't know if it's because there's a giant hole and a crack in there or what have you, but it's generally going pretty smooth. And in terms of excitement, they are enjoying it. So it is a bit of a balancing act here. However, these test rating results aren't bad at all. So I think I'm okay with this being I was intending this to be a scary ride, and the scary is not in the red, and the excitement is green. So it is a nausea ride, so it is a little bit crazy. That's kind of the way I intended it to be. So after some reverse engineering, I have to say that my test results for this ride are good, and it's nice to see that I was forced to do a little bit of reverse engineering and made some major adjustments to get this ride where it needed to be in order to be successful. So I think I'm ready to open this guy up and let everybody ride it, and then that'll finish me off for this scenario. So everything was going good, finished the ride, opened it up, and I showed you guys this score earlier, and I was having the same problem in the beta. Seems like whenever, I finished testing the ride, everything was good, and the stats just continued to drop. And I was having this problem in the beta, and I would really like to know what is causing this. That's why I was kind of making the complaint that there are no tooltips. I don't really have a reason for this based off of the test results that were shown earlier. It was exciting, the excitement rating's still there, and it just tanks. And even the nausea tanks for whatever reason. All the stats tank. I was having this problem in the beta, and it's quite frustrating because your live test results should dictate what the ride is like. And oddly enough, even with the bad excitement and the bad fear, people are still, jamming in here. What's odd is the excitement did not tank because of the fear, obviously, because the fear is really low. So the fact that both stats are tanking makes no sense. I felt like this ride should have been too scary, but I did put some brakes in, and then I started feeling like this shouldn't be scary at all. If you see, as they're coming through here, they're moving pretty slowly. Don't really know what's going on with the tanking of the stats, which is quite unfortunate, to be honest, because I tested this thing, a dozen times. It seems pretty chill for the most part. It's not too crazy. I've seen a lot crazier coasters. Brakes here, slows it down. I mean, this type of coaster is intended to make you turn, go upside down, flip you on your head, and do all that stuff. And it's pretty chill coming through here. And as we saw before, the test results were great. They were pretty good. And for it to tank after the fact that I've opened it up doesn't really give me any indication of what to go back and fix, because I was going off of the test results as an indicator to what to fix. And then to have it say, you're good to go, open this ride up, and then people start going on it, and for whatever reason, it tanks. The only people's complaints are they don't have enough money to go on it, and the queue is too fast. So, I mean, it's still packing. It's just unfortunate when I look at this, I go, oh, this isn't a good coaster. These results aren't any indication of how good your coaster actually is at the end of the day. And this was the problem I was having in the beta. I was saying that none of these have tooltips, none of this has any meaning, therefore you cannot make a bad coaster. So maybe after all, after doing all that tinkering and everything, to see this drop kind of puts me on the edge saying this system is not ready for release. It's unfortunate. I don't know what's happening here. It was a good coaster 15 minutes ago, and this seemed to be a problem in the beta when I was playing around with it, and for a second there I thought it was fixed. Apparently it is not. So I guess ignore your rating, just make your coaster and open it up, and it'll fill up. It won't matter. It's really disappointing, to be honest, that none of the stats, none of the results, none of that really matters at the end of the day, and to see stuff like this happen, it's just really unfortunate. hopefully there's a big patch coming in the near future, or maybe I'm doing something completely wrong, but we saw the live results. If the test results are different than the live results, it needs to tell me why. Is it because of my low scenery rating? No, we tested that in beta. I put a bunch of scenery down, does not change the excitement. So quite unfortunate. What can you do? So I just wanted to mention one more thing before I go into my final impressions here. I talked about this in the beta, that there was only a limited amount of trees, and they weren't the ones that you want. Like, you want these big lush trees like these guys, and you can move these around, but you can't actually grab them from the scenery, which is very odd. And these are like the best trees. I want to place these around to kind of like close off some areas, to, you know, hide some things. And these guys just aren't cutting it. And they just don't have that lush feeling, that full floral. They're very kind of broken up and scattered. And then there's some like palm trees and stuff. But I mean, that's what you want to use for the beaches and whatnot. These bushes, I mean, they give you some options, but it clearly, and then there's this tall pine tree kind of thing. But again, it's not very, it doesn't have a lot of leaves like these nice ones do. So if you want to decorate your park with like some nice big trees, you literally have to take them from the background, which is really disappointing. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that at all. That's kind of like the last thing I wanted to touch up on. And getting into like what I thought of this final scenario. This scenario was better than the first one. However, the objectives weren't any different. Like, they were just as easy. Hire 2 janitors, build 2 rides. If anything, it's easier than the first objective, because the first objective you had to at least wait for that X amount of guests to enter your park. Or this one, you start with 1 ride, and so same with the last one. You place down 1 ride, place down 2 janitors, and you're done. You can get this objective easier than the first level. Same with the medium. Sure, they cost money, but again, the economy in this game is pretty wild. But I found that for whatever reason, I don't know if it's for the final release or if this is a somewhat more challenging level, the economy was less drastic than it was in the first level and when I played the beta. I actually had to raise the prices of things. But to note on that, like if I wanted really good income, I had to raise the price on things. But that all ties back into, I don't feel like these prices, like considering a guest comes in with $80 and you're making them pay $10 a ride, it's a little bit crazy. And then $25 to go on a coaster. They can't really do much before they run out of money. It's a bit unfortunate. I'd have to say that these objectives were actually just as easy as the first level, if not easier. They do kind of mess with your economy a bit, but it's really not that much of a struggle. Sure, in the first level I was sitting at about $150,000 at this point in the game, and this time around I only have $30,000, but I think it's just because I didn't have a coaster making me money other than this guy. But nobody can seem to get on this ride, and I talked about this earlier. The only thing you can do to fix the problem, it's constantly nagging you that people complaining about the queue time for this, and the only thing you can do is increase the speed limit, and you can't edit the track or do anything. So they'll be complaining about this for the entire scenario, and it gets quite annoying. And because not many people can actually get on this ride, you don't actually make that much money off of it. So because I didn't launch this coaster until the end when I was finished, and it was after the objective was met, I wasn't making that great of money, and that's just simply because I did not have a coaster. So when you're basing the game off of just these little rides and stuff, it's pretty tight. Your budgeting is quite close, which it is good, but at the same time, I feel like the tuning could be done a little bit better. Either the guests come with more money. I like the idea of paying just a couple dollars to get on these rides, and you know, maybe $5 maximum for a good coaster. That just feels proper. To make someone spend, you know, a third of what they come into the park with on one ride is pretty ludicrous. I still feel like there needs to be some major tuning. However, this objective was a little bit trickier because you didn't have that coaster, and you can't take out a loan either. So in terms of the scenario itself, it was better, but again, I felt limited in my ability to decorate. While I do have some blueprints that I can put down, they're the exact same as the previous objective. And in terms of research, researching scenery was only art shapes. I just didn't feel a need to do any of this. It wasn't very inspiring. In terms of decorating, like I said, I already decorated my last level with all these same things. So going into the next level, I was hoping for something more exciting. And I don't know if the research was missed. Thrill ride. I did not get my wooden pirate ship. And the objective is completed before I even needed one. So if I don't have a wooden pirate ship or a swinging pirate ship on the next pirate level, or right off the bat or close into the objective, or by the time I'm done the objective, I'm going to be gone through 3 pirate scenarios without having to build a swinging pirate ship, nor have been placing that many creative pirate decorations. You literally get 3 pirate decorations and maybe this too. That's it. And that doesn't go a long way. So in terms of decorating these things, I don't really feel like going all out compared to what could be possible. And as I mentioned way earlier, it's a lot of work. So if I wanted to come into this objective and do something really awesome, I'm going to have to go into sandbox mode first and spend hours and hours and hours and hours creating my own pirate themes. And then even with the shops, like I said, the hot dog shop never got decorated for release. So I think I have a hot dog stall over here. I mean, I need to actually build a custom pirate themed hot dog stall, or just a theme park themed hot dog stall. I have a lot of prep work to do if I want to come into these scenarios and actually have fun. So going into the next scenario, I kind of know what to expect. It's going to be the same as these two, and maybe it's slightly more difficult. However, in terms of creativity, I'm just plopping things down, and I don't really have much to plop down unless I have blueprints from the Steam Workshop or my own blueprints. So I really have to do like 6 hours of prepping to go into a scenario that lasts for maybe half an hour to an hour. If I really want to make it look pretty and make it like a really successful park, like I said, all that stuff has to be done externally in a sandbox mode. Then you can come in here and you have this giant arsenal of decorations to go at your new scenario. And that's what's really going to make this game fun. It's preparing yourself and doing the prep work gone into making this awesome park. Based off of what they give you and the tools they give you, you don't have a lot of variation from level to level. It's more the same. Plop it down, plop it down, plop it down, and you beat the objective. It's really going to come down to how creative are you, and if you are feeling very creative, you have like a full week's worth of work ahead of you in order to just get started on your pirate level. Alright guys, so here's my final verdict on it. I really like the game, but at the same time, I still feel like there's a little bit to be desired in the sense of challenge and the coasters working / functioning properly. I still feel like there's some things that need to be tuned and worked out in terms of economy and coaster results. Overall, I have to sum this game up as a really positive game. It's fun, it's full of life, it's full of joy, it's got a great community, and there's so much positivity to be had here and so much fun gameplay to be experienced. In some cases, it's like a box of Legos, and you can build whatever you want. It would have been nice had there been some Lego sets that came with it so that you can put something together a little quicker. So there's going to be a lot of time spent in prepping yourself to be able to build that park that you so desire. And in terms of scenarios, I would have really loved it if I came into the pirate theme with a lot more Lego sets for my theme park building experience. Part of me says, I can play through this whole thing and have a pretty good experience, but if I go to hit up the community workshop and I build a whole bunch of all my own things and then I play through the scenarios, I'll have a much more grand experience decorating these things. So in that sense, there is a lot of replayability, but then there's also a lot of it's going to be a long time before you get there. Now, how much of this building these pieces, downloading these pieces, can you handle if you're just wanting to dive into the game right now, right away? You might find it getting a little bit repetitive without those Lego sets. So while there may be tons and tons and tons of pieces and an unlimited amount of creativity, there's a lot of time to be consumed before you can actually get to that fun factor. However, that's a good problem to have. That's a great problem to have. You're given 1,000,000,001 Lego pieces and you can do whatever you want with it, so you'll be creating till the end of time, which makes this game a long-lasting experience and kind of gives you that replayability in the sense that once you have a bigger library, once the community has developed a lot more, you can come back to these scenarios and do a lot more with them. It's a great experience, but as I said, on the challenge level, there's some kinks that need to be worked out. The roller coasters need to be fine-tuned a little bit. So so hopefully there's some patches coming in the near future and some balance changes in the near future. And obviously the devs will hopefully keep updating more rides, more expansion packs, maybe some water park stuff like they did in RTC3, maybe like an animal park like they had, like petting zoos and whatnot. There's so much that can be expanded upon on this game, and still so much content to be created by the community. So overall, it's a really good experience and I totally recommend it. However, there's going to be a lot to do before you can really start sinking deep into it. And like I said, that's a good problem to have. That's going to do it for this video, guys. It's a long one, so if you made it through, thank you so much for watching and making it this far. If you like this video, please drop me a like. If you want to see more Planet Coasters, workshop items that I create, and community workshop items that I review, please drop me a sub because I'll have plenty more videos in the future. And let me know what you guys think of the game so far down in the comments below. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next video.